She shouldn't be in here. The words hit the sterile air like a slap. Emily Hayes didn't flinch. She stood at the edge of Trauma Bay 3, clipboard tucked under one arm, pale fingers resting calm against her scrub pants. Around her, the chaos of Silverline Regional's ER churned, monitors screaming, residents barking orders, the metallic tang of blood mixing with antiseptic. But all she heard was that voice, low, dismissive, final. The Navy SEAL blocking the doorway didn't bother lowering his tone. He was built like a wall, arms crossed, eyes hard. Behind him, his team surrounded a gurney where a soldier lay dying, shrapnel wounds, arterial bleed, maybe minutes left. They'd rolled in 10 minutes ago, refused hospital protocol, and set up their own perimeter. Military brass. Classified op. No civilians allowed. Emily was civilian now. "You heard me," the SEAL said, stepping forward. "Out." She met his eyes, said nothing, turned, walked. Behind her, someone laughed. Then the east wall exploded. Glass shattered inward. The shockwave threw nurses into equipment carts. Smoke poured through the ER like a living thing, choking, blinding. Screams erupted. Somewhere a fire alarm wailed, and through the haze came the sound every hospital dreads. Automatic gunfire. Emily dropped to one knee, instinct overriding thought. She scanned the room, exits, cover, angles of attack. Her hand moved to her pocket. Empty. No weapon. No vest. Just scrubs. The SEAL who'd dismissed her was on the floor, disoriented, fumbling for his sidearm. Emily moved first. If you want to see how a nurse they called too quiet becomes the only thing standing between chaos and collapse, stay with me until the end. Drop a comment with your city so I can see how far this story travels, and hit that like button if you're ready for what happens next. The explosion's echo was still ringing when Emily reached the supply closet. She didn't run. Running drew attention. She walked fast, shoulders tight, eyes scanning every doorway. Behind her, the ER was pandemonium, staff scrambling, patients crying out. And somewhere in that smoke, armed men were moving. She yanked open the supply door and grabbed what she needed: gauze, tape, scissors. Her hands didn't shake. They never did. Not anymore. "Hayes!" A voice cut through the noise. Dr. Marcus Vell, the ER attending, stumbled toward her, wild-eyed. Blood streaked his white coat. "What the hell is happening?" "Active shooter situation," Emily said, already moving past him. "Get everyone into the north wing. Lock the stairwell doors." "Who put you in charge?" She didn't answer. She was already gone. The trauma bay where the SEALs had set up was a war zone now. The blast had come from the hallway outside, a breaching charge, maybe C4. Whoever hit them knew exactly where the military personnel were. This wasn't random. This was targeted. Emily pressed against the wall, peering around the corner. Smoke still hung thick, but she could make out shapes. 3 men in tactical gear, rifles up, moving with precision. Not amateurs, not close. One of them kicked open a patient room. A woman screamed. Emily's jaw tightened. She slipped back into the trauma bay. The SEALs were regrouping, 4 of them, including the one who'd thrown her out. Their wounded man was still on the gurney, unconscious, IV line dangling. The team leader, a square-jawed operator with lieutenant's bars, was on his radio, voice clipped. "Command, we have hostile contact. Silverline Regional is under attack. Repeat, hospital is compromised." Static. No response. "Comms are jammed," one of the others muttered. "We're cut off." The lieutenant's eyes swept the room and landed on Emily. "You, nurse, we need—" "Barricade that door," Emily said, pointing to the main entrance. "Move the crash cart. Wedge it under the handle." He blinked. "Excuse me?" "They're coming through the east corridor. You have maybe 90 seconds." She turned to the SEAL who'd dismissed her earlier. His name tape read Garrett. "You, with me." Garrett stared at her like she'd grown a second head. "Lady, you need to—" "Shut up and follow." Emily was already moving, pulling the gurney with the wounded soldier toward the back exit. "Unless you want him dead when they breach." The lieutenant hesitated. Then he nodded. "Do it. Garrett, go." Garrett swore under his breath, but grabbed the other end of the gurney. They pushed through the side door into a maintenance hallway, narrow, dimly lit, lined with piping and electrical boxes. Emily locked the door behind them, then shoved a metal shelving unit in front of it. "That won't hold long," Garrett said. "It doesn't have to." Emily checked the soldier's vitals. Pulse weak, blood pressure dropping. She pulled out the gauze she'd grabbed and started repacking his wound. We need to keep him stable until we can get him out. Who the hell are you? Someone who knows what she's doing. She didn't look up. Your team walked in here like you owned the place, ignored our protocols, blocked our staff. And now you're surprised someone knew you were here? Garrett's face darkened. You think this is our fault? I think you made yourself a target. Emily tied off the bandage, then grabbed the IV bag and hung it higher. And I think if you'd let me do my job 10 minutes ago, we wouldn't be hiding in a hallway. Footsteps echoed from the trauma bay. Shouts, the crash of metal. They're in, Garrett whispered. Emily pointed down the hall. Service elevator, 30 feet. We move quiet. We move fast. And if they see us? She met his eyes, cold, steady. Then you better remember how to shoot. They moved. Emily pushed the gurney. Garrett covered the rear, pistol drawn. The wounded soldier groaned, semi-conscious, blood seeping through the fresh bandages. Emily's mind clicked through variables, distance, time, cover. She'd done this before. Different country, different war, same stakes. The elevator was old, slow, loud. Emily jabbed the button. Nothing. Power's cut, Garrett said. Stairs then. She pivoted, already heading for the emergency exit. 2 floors down. Radiology has a secondary exit to the parking structure. How do you know that? I work here. They hit the stairwell. Emily went first, pulling the gurney backward down the steps. Garrett kept his weapon raised, checking corners. His training was obvious, controlled breathing, steady hands. But his eyes kept flicking to her, confused. You're not panicking, he said. Should I be? Most people would. I'm not most people. They reached the second-floor landing. Emily eased the door open, scanned the corridor. Empty. Radiology was dark, the imaging machine silent. She navigated the gurney through the maze of equipment, heading for the rear exit. Garrett followed, silent now, watching her move like she had a map in her head. She did. They reached the parking garage exit. Emily pushed through and the night air hit her face, cool, sharp, real. She sucked in a breath, then kept moving. The parking structure was mostly empty, just a few scattered vehicles. She headed for the ambulance bay, where a gunshot cracked the air. The bullet hit the concrete 6 inches from Emily's head. She dropped, pulling the gurney down with her. Garrett spun, returning fire. 3 quick shots. A figure ducked behind a pillar. Go! Garrett shouted. Get him out! Emily didn't argue. She shoved the gurney toward the ambulance, staying low. Another shot, then another. Garrett was moving, firing, covering her retreat. Emily reached the ambulance, yanked the back doors open, and started hauling the soldier inside. A second gunman appeared from the shadows, rifle raised. Emily grabbed the IV stand and swung it like a bat. The metal pole caught the gunman across the jaw. He staggered. Emily ripped the rifle from his hand, spun it around, and drove the stock into his gut. He went down hard. Garrett arrived a second later, breathing hard, eyes wide. Jesus! Drive, Emily said, climbing into the back with the soldier. Now! Garrett didn't hesitate. He jumped into the driver's seat, fired up the engine, and slammed the gas. The ambulance lurched forward, tires squealing. Emily braced herself against the wall, hands already working, checking the soldier's airway, adjusting the oxygen mask, monitoring his pulse. The kid was maybe 22, pale, shocky. He was losing blood faster than she could replace it. How far to the nearest trauma center? She called up front. St. Catherine's, 10 minutes. He doesn't have 10 minutes. Then what do you want me to do? Emily looked down at the soldier. His lips were turning blue, breathing shallow. She'd seen this before, too many times. She grabbed a scalpel from the emergency kit. What are you doing? Garrett's voice was sharp. Needle decompression. He's got a tension pneumothorax. His lung collapsed. She didn't wait for permission. She palpated the kid's chest, found the landmark, and drove the needle between his ribs. A hiss of air. The soldier gasped, his breathing easing. Garrett stared at her in the rearview mirror. Where did you learn that? Emily didn't answer. She was already moving to the next problem. Pressure bandage, fresh IV line, epinephrine. Her hands moved with muscle memory, efficient, precise. No wasted motion. Hayes? Garrett's voice was different now, quieter. Who are you? Someone who saves lives. That's not what I asked. The ambulance screeched around a corner. Emily caught herself against the stretcher, kept working. The soldier's vitals were stabilizing. Not great, but better. She allowed herself one breath. One moment. Then her mind snapped back to Silverline. The hospital, she said. How many staff were still inside? I don't know. 50? More? And the attackers? At least 6. Maybe more. Emily's jaw tightened. Turn around. What? Turn around. We're going back. Are you insane? We just barely... There are people still in there, Emily said, her voice flat, unyielding. And those men aren't looking for your team. They're looking for someone else. Something else. This wasn't about killing your soldier. It was about getting into that hospital. Garrett's hands gripped the wheel. You don't know that. Yes, I do. Silence. Then Garrett swore and yanked the wheel. The ambulance U-turned, heading back toward Silverline. You're going to get us killed, he muttered. Emily checked the rifle she'd taken. Full magazine. Safety off. Probably. They parked 2 blocks out, in the shadow of a shuttered office building. Emily climbed out, rifle slung across her back, moving low and fast. Garrett followed, his own weapon drawn. The soldier was stable enough, locked inside the ambulance, hidden, safe for now. Silverline's main building loomed ahead, windows dark except for emergency lighting. Smoke still poured from the east wing. No sirens yet. No police. The attackers had jammed communications, cut the power, and isolated the hospital. This was professional. This was planned. Emily approached from the service entrance, the one staff used for smoke breaks. The door was propped open. Someone had fled this way. She slipped inside, Garrett on her 6. The hallway was empty. Quiet. Too quiet. Then she heard it. Voices. Low, controlled, coming from the main corridor. Emily pressed against the wall, motioning for Garrett to hold. She edged forward, peeking around the corner. 3 men. Tactical gear. Rifles. They were dragging Dr. Vell by his coat, his face bloody, his hands zip-tied. One of them was on a radio. We have the access codes. Moving to the archive now. Archive. Emily's mind clicked. Silverline Regional wasn't just a hospital. It was a research facility. They had a secure wing, locked down, restricted access, medical trials, classified projects, government contracts. This wasn't about the SEAL team. This was a heist. She pulled back, turned to Garrett. His face was grim. We need backup, he whispered. Backup's not coming. Comms are down. Roads are probably blocked. We're it. 2 against 6. 7, Emily corrected. There's another one in the stairwell. I saw him on the camera feed when we passed radiology. Garrett stared at her. You saw... when? Doesn't matter. Emily checked her rifle. We split up. You create a distraction in the lobby. I'll cut through the lab wing and hit them from behind. That's suicide. It's tactics. She met his eyes. You wanted to know who I am? I'm someone who doesn't leave people behind. Garrett hesitated, then he nodded. 5 minutes. Then I light it up. 5 minutes, Emily echoed. They moved. Emily slipped through the side corridors, past abandoned nurses' stations and overturned gurneys. She knew every inch of this place, had walked these halls for 2 years, memorized the layout, the shortcuts, the blind spots. But right now, she wasn't thinking like a nurse. She was thinking like a soldier. The lab wing was locked. Emily pulled a key card from her pocket. Her own, the one they deactivated after she transferred to General ER. She swiped it anyway. Red light, access denied. She tried the override code, the one Dr. Vell had mentioned once, drunk at a staff party, complaining about hospital security. Green light. The door clicked open. Emily moved through the dark lab, past centrifuges and microscopes and locked refrigerators. The archive was at the end, a reinforced door, biometric scanner, the works. And standing in front of it were 2 of the attackers, working on bypassing the lock. Emily raised her rifle, then stopped. One of them turned, not toward her, toward the window. He was listening to something on his earpiece, his posture shifting, alert. Movement in the lobby, he said. Garrett's making his play. The other one swore. Go, I'll finish this. One of the attackers jogged off. The other stayed, focused on the door. Emily stepped out of the shadows. Step away from the door. The man spun, gun half raised. He froze when he saw her, not because of the rifle, but because of her face. "You," he breathed. Emily's finger tightened on the trigger. "You know me." "Sergeant Hayes?" His voice was almost reverent. "They said you were dead." Her blood went cold. "Who's they?" The man smiled. "The same people who sent me here." Then he lunged. Emily fired. The shot went wide. He was fast, trained, closing the distance before she could adjust. He slammed into her, driving her into a lab table. Glass shattered. Emily twisted, brought her elbow up into his throat. He gagged, stumbled back. She didn't give him time to recover. She kicked his knee, heard the pop, and as he fell, she ripped the rifle from his hands and leveled it at his head. "Who sent you?" He laughed, blood on his teeth. "You really don't know, do you?" "Talk." "They're coming for you, Hayes. All of you. Everyone who knows what happened in Kandahar." Emily's heart stopped. Kandahar. The name hit her like a freight train. A desert, a firefight, a mission that was supposed to be routine, and bodies, so many bodies that were never supposed to exist. "You're lying," she said. "Am I?" The man's smile widened. "Check the archive, see what they're really protecting." Gunfire erupted from the lobby. Garrett's distraction, loud and chaotic. Emily's grip tightened. "Last chance. Who do you work for?" The man just stared at her. Then he bit down. The cyanide capsule worked fast. He convulsed once, foam at his lips, and went still. Emily stepped back, breathing hard. Her hands were shaking now. She forced them steady. Kandahar. The archive door was still locked. She turned to the biometric scanner, pulling the dead man's hand up to the reader. It beeped. Denied. She tried the keypad. Every code she knew. Nothing. Then she heard footsteps behind her. She spun, rifle up. Garrett stood in the doorway, blood on his sleeve, eyes wide. "We need to go, now. The rest of them are regrouping," and he stopped, seeing the body. "What the hell happened?" Emily lowered the rifle. "He knew me." "What?" "He knew who I was. Before I came here. Before I was just a nurse." Garrett's face shifted. Understanding. Fear. "Hayes, we need to get into that archive. Are you insane? We need to get out." An alarm blared. Red lights flashed. The archive door hissed open. Emily and Garrett froze, weapons raised. Inside, standing in the darkness, was a woman. Mid-50s, gray suit, calm as glass. She held a tablet in one hand, her expression unreadable. "Sergeant Hayes," the woman said. "It's been a long time." Emily's blood turned to ice, because she knew that voice. Colonel Diane Mercer. Her former commanding officer. The woman who'd sent her to Kandahar. The woman who'd buried the mission report. The woman who was supposed to be dead. "Surprise," Mercer said softly. And behind her, stepping out of the shadows, were 4 more soldiers. Not attackers, not enemies. Her old unit. Emily's rifle stayed level, but her finger eased off the trigger. The 4 soldiers behind Mercer weren't aiming at her. Not yet. They stood at parade rest, faces she recognized even after 3 years. Corporal Danny Ramos, still baby-faced, despite the scar running down his neck. Staff Sergeant Kira Okonkwo, arms crossed, expression unreadable. Specialist Jordan Park, thinner than Emily remembered, eyes haunted. And in the back, Lieutenant Marcus Webb, the only one who met her gaze directly. Garrett shifted beside her, confused, his weapon tracking between targets. "Hayes, who, Lower your gun," Emily said quietly. "They're not the enemy." "Like hell they're not. That woman just—" "I said lower it." Garrett hesitated, then complied. His jaw was tight, every muscle coiled. Mercer stepped forward, heels clicking on the tile. She moved like she owned the room, the building, the entire situation. "Sergeant Hayes, you've been busy." "Colonel." Emily's voice was flat. "You're supposed to be dead." "So are you." Mercer glanced at the body on the floor, the man with foam still drying at his lips. "Yet, here we both are. What the hell is this?" "A conversation that's 3 years overdue." Mercer gestured to the archive behind her. "But not here. Too exposed. The rest of those mercenaries are still in the building, and they won't stop until they get what they came for." "Which is?" Mercer's smile was thin. "You, Sergeant." They came for you. The words landed like a punch. Emily's grip tightened on her rifle. Explain. Not here. My team will secure the hospital. You and your friend come with me. No. Emily didn't move. You don't give me orders anymore. I'm not ordering. I'm offering you a way to stay alive. Mercer nodded to Webb. Lieutenant, take your team and clear the east wing. Non-lethal if possible. We need at least one of them talking. Webb's eyes lingered on Emily for a beat too long. Then he nodded. Yes, ma'am. He motioned to the others and they moved out, silent and efficient. Garrett watched them go, then turned to Emily. You want to tell me what the hell is happening? Not really. Too bad. His voice was hard now, the confusion giving way to anger. Because I just watched you disarm a trained operative with a medical stand, perform field surgery in a moving ambulance, and now your dead commanding officer is standing in front of us with a black ops team. So start talking. Emily met his eyes. She saw the betrayal there, the sense that he'd been lied to. She had been lying, to him, to the hospital, to herself. I was a combat medic, she said, attached to a special operations unit. We ran missions in Afghanistan, Syria, places that don't exist on any map. Kandahar was supposed to be our last op before rotation. It wasn't. What happened? We walked into an ambush. Someone sold us out. Half my unit died in the first 30 seconds. Emily's voice was steady, clinical. The rest of us fought our way out. When we got back, command told us the mission never happened. The soldiers who died never existed. And anyone who talked about it would join them. Garrett stared at her. So you ran. I disappeared. Changed my name, buried my records, became someone else. She gestured to the nurse's scrubs she still wore, now torn and blood-stained. I thought I could just save lives and forget. Clearly that didn't work. No, it didn't. Mercer cleared her throat. Touching reunion. Now move. We have maybe 5 minutes before the remaining hostiles regroup. Emily turned to her. Why are you here, Colonel? And don't tell me it's to save me. I'm here because someone leaked the Kandahar files. Every name, every mission detail, every piece of evidence we buried. And now there's a kill list. 12 names. Yours is number 7. The air went cold. Who leaked it? We don't know yet. But the people hunting you aren't random mercenaries. They're professionals, well-funded, well-connected. And they won't stop until every name on that list is crossed off. Emily's mind raced. 12 names. Her old unit had 15 survivors after Kandahar. 3 were already dead. How many have they gotten? She asked. 4. Ramos, Okonkwo, Park, and Webb are the only ones left besides you. And you. Mercer's expression didn't change. I was never on the list. Officially, I died in a car accident 2 years ago. I've been operating in the shadows ever since, trying to find out who's behind this. Why should I believe you? Because if I wanted you dead, Sergeant, you'd already be bleeding out on this floor. Mercer turned and started walking. Now come. We don't have time for trust exercises. Emily exchanged a glance with Garrett. He shook his head slowly, as if to say, this is insane. She agreed. But insane or not, Mercer was right. They were running out of time. They followed her deeper into the archive, through rows of locked file cabinets and climate-controlled storage units. Mercer stopped at a reinforced door, pressed her thumb to a scanner, and the lock disengaged. Inside was a small operations room. Monitors, communications equipment, tactical maps pinned to the walls. And sitting at the central console, typing rapidly, was a man Emily didn't recognize. Mid-30s, rumpled shirt, glasses, the look of someone who lived on caffeine and stress. This is Felix Crane, Mercer said. Former NSA analyst. He's the one who discovered the leak. Felix glanced up, gave a distracted wave, and went back to typing. Found another breach. They accessed the medical records database 20 minutes ago, pulled everything on Emily Hayes, including her current assignment at Silverline. That's how they knew she was here, Garrett said. Correct. Felix pulled up a series of files on the screen. They've been tracking all the Kandahar survivors, monitoring their movements, their communications, waiting for the right moment to strike. Tonight was yours, Sergeant Hayes. The SEAL team's presence was just a bonus, created chaos, divided attention, gave them cover. Emily stepped closer to the screen. The files were thorough. Photos of her entering the hospital, time-stamped and annotated. Records of her work schedule, her apartment address, even her grocery store receipts. Someone had been watching her for months. "Who's funding this?" she asked. Felix shrugged. "That's the million-dollar question. The money's routed through shell companies in the Cayman, Cyprus, Hong Kong. Whoever it is, they're smart, and they have serious resources." "Government?" Garrett asked. "Maybe, or private sector. Someone with a vested interest in keeping Kandahar buried." Emily turned to Mercer. "What were we really doing in Kandahar? And don't feed me the official story. I want the truth." Mercer was silent for a long moment. Then she sighed. "You were hunting a high-value target, a man named Rashid Halani. He was running a network that smuggled weapons and intelligence across 3 continents. We had solid intel that he was meeting with a contact in Kandahar, someone inside our own government." "A traitor?" "Yes. Your mission was to capture Halani alive and identify the contact. But when you arrived, the whole thing fell apart. Halani was already dead, his men were waiting, and someone had tipped them off." Emily's jaw tightened. "Who was the contact?" "We never found out. The ambush killed half your team. The survivors were ordered to stay silent. The mission was scrubbed from the record." "But someone knows," Emily said. "Someone who was there. Someone who set us up." "That's what I've been trying to find out for 3 years." Mercer's voice was sharp now, frustrated. "And every lead I chase ends up dead or disappeared. Whoever the traitor is, they're still out there, still protected, still powerful enough to erase people." A burst of gunfire echoed from somewhere above them, close. Felix cursed, fingers flying over the keyboard. Webb's team engaged the hostiles on the 2nd floor. 3 targets down, 2 still active. "Where's the last one?" Mercer demanded. "Unknown. He went dark after the explosion. Could be anywhere." Garrett checked his weapon. "We need to get out of here." "Not yet." Mercer pulled a small black case from a drawer and handed it to Emily. "This contains everything I've gathered on Kandahar. Names, dates, financial records, intercepted communications. If something happens to me, you need to get this to someone who can act on it." Emily took the case. It was heavier than it looked. "Who?" "There's a contact number inside, a journalist, someone I trust. Use it only if you have no other option." "Why me?" "Because you're still breathing, Sergeant. That makes you the best option I have." More gunfire. Closer now. Felix's monitor flashed red. "We have a problem. Someone just triggered the lockdown protocol. All exits are sealed." "What?" Garrett moved to the screen. "How's that possible?" "Someone with admin access." Felix's face went pale. "Someone inside the system." Mercer's expression darkened. "Felix, tell me you didn't—" "I didn't! I swear I locked down my credentials. No one should be able to—" He stopped, staring at the screen. "Oh no." "What?" "There's a subroutine running. It's bypassing all security protocols. Whoever's doing this, they're not just locking us in. They're—" His voice cracked. "They're venting the oxygen from the archive." Emily's stomach dropped. "How long do we have?" 3 minutes, maybe less." The air was already starting to feel thin. Mercer grabbed a radio. "Webb, report. What's your status?" "Static." "Webb, do you copy?" "Nothing." Garrett moved to the door, tried the handle. Locked. He slammed his shoulder into it. It didn't budge. "We're trapped." Emily scanned the room. No windows. 1 door. Air vents too small to crawl through. Her mind raced, calculating angles, options, escape routes. There had to be a way out. There was always a way out. Her eyes landed on the ventilation grate in the ceiling. Too small for a person, but— "Felix," she said, "can you access the building's environmental controls from here?" "Maybe, if I can break through the lockout." "Do it. Reroute the oxygen back into this room. That'll alert whoever's doing this to our exact location." "They already know where we are." Emily pulled herself up onto the desk, started unscrewing the vent cover with her knife. "They're trying to suffocate us. We need to buy time." Felix's fingers blurred across the keyboard. "I'm in. Rerouting now." A hiss of air. The pressure in the room shifted. Emily pulled the vent cover free and peered inside. The duct was narrow, dark, but she could see a junction about 10 feet in. "There's an access shaft. Leads to the main ventilation system." Garrett stared at her. "You can't be serious. You have a better idea?" He didn't. Emily dropped the black case Mercer had given her into Garrett's hands. "Hold this. If I don't make it back, you get it out. Hayes, Just do it. She pulled herself into the vent. The metal was cold, the space claustrophobic. She crawled forward, elbows and knees scraping, her rifle dragging behind her. The air tasted stale, metallic. She could hear her own breathing, too loud in the confined space. Behind her, Garrett called out, "Where are you going?" "To find the bastard who's trying to kill us." The duck branched. Emily took the left path, following the airflow. Her shoulders barely fit. She had to turn sideways, inching forward, pushing with her legs. The rifle caught on a seam. She yanked it free, kept moving. Voices ahead. Faint, muffled by metal. Emily slowed, listening. "Confirm the targets are contained. Proceed with phase 2. A man's voice. Calm. Professional. Emily reached a vent grate and looked down. She was above the hospital's main server room, a narrow space packed with equipment. And standing in the center holding a tablet was the 7th hostile, the one who'd gone dark. He wasn't alone. Next to him, in a crisp suit and tie, was someone Emily recognized. Not from Kandahar. From Silverline. Dr. Gerald Moss, the hospital's chief administrator. Emily's blood turned to ice. Moss was talking on a phone, his voice clipped and businesslike. "Yes, the targets are secured. Hayes is in the archive. The rest of her team is neutralized. We'll have confirmation within the hour." The hostile looked up from his tablet. "What about the files?" "Already wiped. Every trace of Kandahar, every connection to Halani, it's gone. By morning, there won't be any evidence that any of this ever happened." Emily's mind spun. Moss. The man who'd hired her. The man who'd vouched for her when she applied to Silverline. The man who'd smiled and shaken her hand and promised her a fresh start. He was the traitor. Moss ended the call and turned to the hostile. "How long until the oxygen runs out?" 2 minutes. "Good. Make sure there are no survivors. I want Hayes's body recovered. We need confirmation." The hostile nodded and left the room. Moss stood alone now, adjusting his tie, checking his watch, like he was waiting for a meeting to end. Emily's hand moved to her rifle. 1 shot. Clean. Easy. But she hesitated. Killing Moss wouldn't give her answers. It wouldn't tell her who else was involved, who'd ordered the hit, who'd buried Kandahar in the first place. She needed him alive. She backed away from the vent, started crawling toward the junction. She had to get back to the archive, warn Mercer, get everyone out before the duck beneath her groaned. Then it gave way. Emily dropped through the floor, hit the ground hard, metal clattering around her. She rolled, came up in a crouch, rifle raised. She was in a maintenance corridor. Empty, dark. Her radio crackled. Felix's voice, frantic. "Hayes, where are you? We've got company. Webb's team is down. Hostiles are moving on the archive. We need—" Gunfire drowned out the rest. Emily ran. She hit the stairwell at full sprint, taking the steps 3 at a time. Her lungs burned, her ribs ached from the fall, but she didn't slow down. She burst through the door into the archive level and nearly collided with Ramos. He grabbed her, eyes wild. They're inside. Mercer's pinned down. Emily didn't ask questions. She moved past him, down the corridor, and saw the firefight. Webb and Okonkwo were behind overturned file cabinets, trading shots with 2 hostiles at the far end. The archive door was open, smoke pouring out. Emily took position, sighted down her rifle, and fired. 1 hostile dropped. The other ducked behind cover. "Covering," she shouted. Webb glanced back, saw her, and his face twisted with something between relief and anger. "Where the hell have you been?" "Making friends." Emily fired again, suppressing the remaining hostile. "Moss is dirty. He's the one who set this whole thing up." Webb's eyes widened. "The hospital admin?" "Yeah, and he's wiping the servers as we speak. If we don't stop him, every piece of evidence goes up in smoke." Okonkwo swore. "Then we move. Now." They advanced, a tight unit covering each other's angles. The hostile tried to retreat, but Park appeared from a side corridor and cut him off. The man went down without a fight. Emily reached the archive door and stepped inside. The room was a disaster. Equipment smashed, files scattered, and in the center Mercer stood with a laptop in one hand and a pistol in the other. Her suit was torn, blood on her sleeve, but her expression was ice. "It's Moss," Emily said. Mercer didn't look surprised. "I know. I've known for 6 months." Emily stared at her. "What?" "I suspected him after the second survivor was killed. The pattern was too precise. someone with access to military and civilian records, someone who could move freely without suspicion. Mercer set the laptop down. I've been feeding him false information, watching his moves, waiting for him to make a mistake. And tonight? Tonight, he took the bait. The SEAL team's arrival wasn't coincidence. I arranged it. I needed Moss to act, to expose himself. Emily's hands clenched. You used me. I used everyone. It was the only way to draw him out. People died. People were already dying, Mercer snapped. And if we don't stop Moss now, more will follow. So you can stand there and hate me, Sergeant, or you can help me finish this. Emily wanted to scream, wanted to put her fist through the wall. But Mercer was right. Moss was the key. And if they didn't move fast, he'd disappear into whatever hole he'd crawled out of. Where is he now? Emily asked. Felix's voice came through the radio. Server room, 3rd floor, but he's not alone. I'm picking up 5 additional heat signatures converging on his location. Reinforcements, Webb said. He's got a backup team. Mercer holstered her pistol. Then we hit them before they can extract him. Webb, take your team and secure the stairwell. Hayes, Garrett, you're with me. We take Moss alive. Garrett stepped forward. I'm not military. I don't take orders from you. Then take them from her. Mercer nodded to Emily. She's the one who saved your life twice tonight. Trust her judgment. Garrett looked at Emily. She met his eyes, said nothing. After a moment, he nodded. They moved. The 3rd floor was chaos. Emergency lights flickered, alarms blared. Staff had evacuated hours ago, but the evidence of panic was everywhere. Abandoned equipment, overturned carts, blood stains on the tile. Emily led the way, moving through the corridors like a ghost. She knew this floor, had worked it during her first month at Silverline. The server room was at the east end behind a locked door that required admin access. Moss's access. They reached the door. It was open. Mercer held up a fist. Stop. She peered inside, then pulled back. 5 hostiles. Moss is at the center console. They're prepping for extraction. We can't let them leave, Emily said. We won't. Mercer pulled a flashbang from her belt, tossed it to Garrett. You know how to use this? He nodded. Good. On my mark, you throw it in. We breach, engage hostiles, secure Moss. Non-lethal if possible. But if they shoot first, we put them down, Emily finished. Mercer smiled. It wasn't a pleasant expression. Good to see you remember your training. Some things you don't forget. Webb's voice crackled over the radio. In position. Ready when you are. Mercer counted down. 3, 2, 1. Garrett threw the flashbang. The explosion was blinding, deafening. Emily moved through the door before the sound faded, muscle memory taking over. She saw shapes, silhouettes, targets. Her rifle barked twice. 2 hostiles down. Garrett was right behind her, firing controlled bursts. Another hostile dropped. Mercer went left, flanking, her pistol precise. The 4th hostile tried to turn, but Okonkwo came through the side entrance and dropped him with a single shot. That left 1. He had Moss, gun to the administrator's head, backing toward the far exit. Drop it, Emily shouted. The hostile didn't. He kept moving, dragging Moss with him. You don't want to do this, Mercer said calmly. We have the building locked down. No way out. Surrender, and you live. The hostile laughed. You think I'm scared of prison? You have no idea who you're dealing with. Then enlighten us. I work for people who don't lose, people who erase problems. And you, he looked at Emily, you're the biggest problem of all. He pulled the trigger, not on Moss, on himself. The body hit the floor. Moss stumbled forward, hands raised, face pale. Don't shoot, he stammered. Please, I can explain, I can... Emily crossed the room in 3 strides and slammed him against the wall. Start talking. I didn't have a choice. They threatened my family, my career, everything. I had to cooperate. Who? I don't know. I swear I never met them in person. It was all encrypted messages, offshore accounts. They paid me to monitor the Kandahar survivors, to report their locations, to... Emily pressed the rifle against his throat. To kill them. No, I didn't kill anyone. I just provided information. What they did with it, that wasn't... You set up the hits. You're just as guilty. Moss was crying now, ugly and pathetic. Please, I have a daughter. She's only 12. If I don't cooperate, they'll... They'll what? Mercer stepped forward, her voice cold. Kill her? Like they killed 4 soldiers who trusted their command? Like they tried to kill everyone in this room? Moss sagged. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Emily let him go. He slumped to the floor, sobbing. Garrett stood over him, disgusted. What do we do with him? We use him, Mercer said. He's going to tell us everything, every contact, every payment, every piece of this operation, and then we're going to dismantle it. Felix's voice came through the radio, urgent. We have a problem. The lockdown's been overridden. Someone's accessing the building from the outside. Who? I don't know. But whoever it is, they have top-level clearance. Government level. Mercer's expression went hard. How long until they're inside? 3 minutes. Emily looked at the others. Webb, Okonkwo, Park, Ramos, Garrett. They were exhausted, bloodied, running on fumes, and now someone with government clearance was coming for them. We need to move, she said. Where? Garrett asked. Every exit is locked. Emily turned to Felix. Can you unlock the roof access? Yeah, but what good does that? Just do it. Felix hesitated, then complied. Done. But Hayes, there's nothing up there. No helicopter, no escape route. You'll be trapped. Not if I call in a favor. She pulled out her phone, dialed a number she hadn't used in 3 years. It rang twice. A voice answered, rough, familiar. This is a deadline. Torres, Emily said. It's Hayes. Silence. Then quietly, you're supposed to be gone. I am gone. But I need one last thing. Extraction. Silverline Regional Hospital. Roof. 10 minutes. That's impossible. You owe me. Another silence. Longer this time. 10 minutes, Torres said. After that, you're on your own. The line went dead. Emily pocketed the phone. We're leaving. Everyone grab what you can carry. Files, hard drives, anything that proves what happened here. Mercer stared at her. Who did you just call? Someone who doesn't ask questions. They moved fast. Felix grabbed 2 laptops and a stack of external drives. Mercer took the black case with the Kandahar files. Webb and his team secured the perimeter while Emily hauled Moss to his feet. You're coming with us, she said. Where? Somewhere you can't run. They hit the stairwell and climbed. 4 flights. 5. Emily's legs burned, her breath coming in ragged gasps, but she didn't stop. Behind them, she could hear doors opening, heavy boots on tile. Whoever was coming, they were close. They burst onto the roof. Wind whipped across the open space, cold and sharp. The city lights spread out below them, distant and indifferent. No helicopter yet. How long? Webb asked. Emily checked her watch. 6 minutes. We don't have 6 minutes. The stairwell door exploded inward. Smoke and fire. Figures poured through. Not the mercenaries from before. These were different. Military gear, professional, and at the front, leading them, was a man in a black suit. He stopped when he saw Emily, his expression unreadable. Sergeant Hayes, he said. Stand down. You're under arrest. Emily raised her rifle. On what charge? Treason. Murder. Conspiracy against the United States. Garrett stepped beside her. Who the hell are you? The man pulled a badge. Special Agent Vincent Cray, Homeland Security, and all of you are coming with me. Mercer laughed. It was a bitter, broken sound. Homeland? You've got to be kidding. Cray's eyes shifted to her. Colonel Mercer, I was told you were dead. I got better. Clearly, Cray motioned to his team. Detain them, all of them. The soldiers moved forward. Emily didn't lower her weapon. We're not going anywhere. Then you'll be shot resisting arrest. By whose authority? Cray smiled. It was the smile of a man who knew he'd already won. By the authority of the people who've been cleaning up messes like Kandahar for 30 years. The people who make problems disappear. Emily's finger tightened on the trigger. You're the ones behind this. The kill list. The attacks. We're the ones maintaining order. You and your team are loose ends, liabilities, and liabilities get cut. The roar of rotors cut through the air. A helicopter rose over the edge of the building, sleek and black, no markings. The side door slid open and a figure leaned out, assault rifle trained on Cray's team. Torres. He looked older, harder, but his voice was the same. Hayes, move! Emily grabbed Moss and ran. Garrett, Mercer, and the others followed. Cray shouted orders, his team opening fire. Bullets sparked off the rooftop, ricocheting into the night. Torres returned fire, suppressing them long enough for Emily to reach the helicopter. She shoved Moss inside, then turned back. Webb was down, blood spreading across his chest. Emily ran back, grabbed him, started dragging. Okonkwo appeared, took his other arm. They hauled him toward the helicopter, bullets tearing the air around them. They reached the open door. Torres pulled Webb inside. Then Okonkwo, Ramos, Park, Felix. Mercer was last. She turned, looked back at Cray, and raised her middle finger. Then she climbed aboard. The helicopter lifted, banking hard. Emily looked down and saw Cray standing at the edge of the roof, watching them go. He pulled out a phone, made a call, and smiled. Torres sat back, breathing hard. "You've got 5 minutes to tell me why I just became a fugitive." Emily met his eyes. "Because someone powerful wants us dead, and we're about to find out who." The helicopter climbed into the night sky, leaving Silverline Regional behind. But Emily knew this wasn't over. It was just beginning. Because somewhere below, in that burning hospital, Cray was already making his next move. And whatever came next, it wouldn't be arrests or trials. It would be war. The helicopter carved through darkness, running low over the city, lights bleeding past in streaks. Emily pressed her hand against Webb's chest, blood hot and slick between her fingers. His breathing was shallow, pupils dilated, skin going gray. "Stay with me," she said. Webb's eyes found hers. "Can't feel my legs." "You will. Just keep breathing." She tore open a trauma kit, pulled out quick clot gauze, and packed the entry wound. The bullet had gone through his right lung, maybe nicked the subclavian artery. He was bleeding internally, and without a hospital, without proper equipment, he had maybe 20 minutes. Torres glanced back from the pilot seat. "Where am I going?" "West," Mercer said. She was strapped into a jump seat, laptop open, fingers moving fast. "Get us out of the city. I'll give you coordinates when we're clear." "Clear of what?" "Air traffic control, police bands, satellite tracking. Pick one." Torres swore and banked hard. The helicopter shuddered, dropping altitude. Emily braced herself against the wall, never taking pressure off Webb's wound. Garrett sat across from her, face pale, still gripping his rifle. "Is he going to make it?" "Depends on the next hour." "That's not an answer." "It's the only one I have." Moss was curled in this corner, zip-tied and quiet. Okonkwo stood over him, weapon ready, eyes cold. Ramos and Park flanked the opposite door, scanning the sky for pursuit. Felix hunched over his own laptop, external drive stacked beside him, muttering to himself. "They're tracking us, Brachamamnas," Felix said suddenly. "I'm picking up search protocols across every law enforcement frequency. FBI, ATF, National Guard. They've labeled us domestic terrorists." "How fast?" Mercer asked. "Fast. They're spinning this as a hospital siege, multiple casualties, armed fugitives. Every agency in 3 states is mobilizing. Can you block it? For maybe 10 minutes. After that, we're ghosts or we're dead." Emily grabbed a fresh pressure bandage, wrapped it tight around Webb's torso. His pulse was thready, uneven. She needed to intubate him, get oxygen flowing, but the helicopter was too unstable, too cramped. "Torres," she called out, "find me flat ground, now. We land. We're sitting ducks." "He dies if we don't." Torres glanced at Webb, saw the blood, the gray skin. His jaw tightened. 2 minutes. The helicopter dropped lower, skimming over industrial parks and empty highways. Torres brought them down in an abandoned lot behind a shuttered factory, rotors kicking up dust and debris. The skids hit concrete and Emily was already moving. "Ramos, Park perimeter. Okonkwo, help me get him out." They moved Webb onto the ground, laying him flat. Emily tilted his head back, checked his airway. Clear. She grabbed an intubation kit from the helicopter's medical supplies, prepped the laryngoscope. "Hold him steady," she told Okonkwo. Webb's eyes flickered. "Emily, don't talk. Save your air." She slid the scope in, visualized the vocal cords, threaded the tube. Webb gagged once, then went still. Emily connected the bag valve mask and started squeezing. Oxygen in, blood out. She needed to stop the internal bleeding, but that required surgery, tools she didn't have. Mercer appeared beside her. "We need to move." "He's not stable." He'll be less stable when Cray's people find us. Emily ignored her. She pulled out a needle, drew up epinephrine, injected it into Webb's IV line. His heart rate spiked, then steadied. It wouldn't last, but it bought time. "Felix," Emily called. "Where's the nearest trauma center?" 40 miles west, St. Jerome's, but they'll have alerts out. The second we walk in, we're flagged. Then we don't walk in. We find another way. Mercer crouched beside her. "There is no other way, Sergeant. Webb needs a surgeon, an OR, blood transfusions. You can't give him that out here." "So what do you suggest? Let him bleed out?" "I suggest we prioritize. Webb's one soldier. The intel we have can take down an entire network. Dozens of people responsible for Kandahar, for the kill list, for everything." Emily stared at her. "You want me to leave him?" "I want you to think tactically. He's not a tactical decision. He's a person. And he'll be a dead person if we waste time we don't have." Mercer's voice was ice. "You know I'm right." Emily wanted to scream, wanted to put her fist through something, but she looked down at Webb, at his chest barely rising, at the blood pooling beneath him, and she knew Mercer wasn't wrong. She just hated that she was right. "Garrett," Emily said quietly, "you still have that ambulance?" He blinked. "What?" "The one we used earlier. Where is it?" "Probably impounded by now. Why?" "Because I need a vehicle with medical equipment, and I need it fast." Torres leaned out of the helicopter. "Hayes, we don't have time for—" "Then make time." Emily stood, looked at him. "You got us this far. I need one more thing. Can you get us to St. Jerome's without being spotted?" Torres hesitated. Then he nodded. "Maybe. If I stay low, run dark, avoid the highways. But the second they ping us on radar, it's over." "Good enough." They loaded Webb back into the helicopter. Emily climbed in beside him, kept pressure on the wound, kept squeezing the bag valve mask. Ramos and Park secured the doors. Okonkwo dragged Moss back to his corner. Mercer sat down, closed her laptop, and didn't say another word. Torres lifted off. The factory lot fell away, replaced by darkness and distant lights. Emily counted Webb's breaths. 1, 2, 3. Each one weaker than the last. "Come on," she whispered. "Don't quit on me." Felix's voice cut through the noise. "We have a problem." "Another one?" Garrett muttered. "Cray just went live. National news. He's calling you all enemies of the state. Fugitives who attacked a hospital, killed civilians, and kidnapped a federal administrator." Moss looked up, eyes wide. "That's not—" "Shut up," Okonkwo said. Felix turned his laptop around. The screen showed Cray standing in front of Silverline Regional, smoke still rising behind him. His expression was grim, authoritative, a man doing his duty. "Tonight, a coordinated attack was carried out against Silverline Regional Hospital by a domestic terror cell," Cray said. "Multiple casualties. Staff members murdered in cold blood. The attackers, led by former military personnel, are armed and extremely dangerous. We are offering a reward for any information leading to their capture." The screen cut to photos. Emily's face. Mercer's. Webb, Okonkwo, Ramos, Park. Even Garrett. "Jesus," Garrett breathed. "They doctored my ID, made it look like I'm military too." "They're framing all of us," Emily said, "turning this into a manhunt." "It's working." Felix pulled up social media feeds. The story was everywhere, trending, spreading like wildfire. People were already sharing the photos, speculating, calling for blood. "How long until someone spots us?" Ramos asked. "Could be minutes, could be seconds." Felix's hands were shaking now. "They've got facial recognition algorithms running on every traffic cam, every security feed, every cell phone tower in the region. If we so much as pass under a streetlight, they'll know." Torres banked hard, dropping even lower. They were flying between buildings now, using the urban terrain as cover. Emily's stomach lurched with every turn. "St. Jerome's is 10 miles out," Torres said, "but I'm picking up helicopter activity. Search patterns. They're boxing us in." "Can you lose them?" "Not for long." Emily looked down at Webb. His pulse was barely there. She checked her watch. 15 minutes since they'd left the factory lot. He was running out of time. "Torres," she said, "push it. If I push it, they'll hear us. Do it anyway." The helicopter surged forward, engine screaming. The city blurred beneath them. Emily braced herself, one hand on Webb, the other gripping the wall. Ahead, the lights of St. Jerome's appeared, a sprawling complex, parking lots, emergency bays, and surrounding it, flashing red and blue. Police, dozens of them. "They're waiting for us," Torres said. "Of course they are." Mercer leaned forward, scanning the scene. Cray anticipated this. He knew we'd need medical help. He's turned every hospital into a trap. Emily's mind raced. Webb was dying. The police had the hospital locked down, and they were flying a stolen helicopter with a wanted fugitive and a bleeding soldier. "There," she said, pointing to a building adjacent to the hospital. "That's a medical office complex. After-hours clinic. Land on the roof." "That's not a trauma center." "It's got supplies, equipment, maybe enough to stabilize him." "And then what?" "Then we figure out the next step." Torres didn't argue. He brought the helicopter down fast, rotor wash scattering trash across the rooftop. The skids hit concrete, and Emily was already dragging Webb out. "Felix, Garrett, with me," she ordered. "Mercer, secure Moss. Ramos, Park, Okonkwo, watch the exits." They moved. Emily kicked open the roof access door, descended into a dark stairwell. The clinic was small, maybe 6 exam rooms, a waiting area, a supply closet. She found the main office, smashed the lock, and started pulling drawers. Suture kits, scalpels, gauze. Not enough. Never enough. Garrett appeared in the doorway. "Police are everywhere. If we stay here—" "I know." Emily grabbed an ultrasound machine, wheeled it into the hallway. "Help me get him into exam 3. They lifted Webb onto the table. Emily cut away his shirt, exposing the wound. Entry just below the clavicle, exit through the back. The bullet had shredded tissue, vessels, maybe bone. She turned on the ultrasound, slid the probe across his chest. There. Hemothorax. Blood filling his chest cavity, collapsing the lung. "I need to drain it," she said. "With what?" Garrett asked. Emily grabbed a chest tube kit from the supply cabinet. "This." She prepped the site, injected local anesthetic, made an incision. Blood welled up, dark and thick. She slid the tube between Webb's ribs, advanced it carefully, then connected it to a drainage system. Blood poured out. 1 liter, then 2. Webb's breathing eased. His color improved, just slightly. Emily allowed herself 1 breath, 1 moment of relief. Then Felix burst into the room. "They're coming! Police just entered the building. Ground floor." "How many?" "At least 20. SWAT setting up outside." Emily looked at Webb. He was stable, for now, but moving him would tear open everything she'd just fixed. "We need a distraction," she said. "I'll do it." Mercer stood in the doorway, Moss in front of her, hands still zip-tied. "I'll take him downstairs, turn him over. Buy you time to get Webb out." "They'll arrest you." "Maybe. Or maybe Moss will tell them the truth." Moss shook his head frantically. No, I can't. They'll kill my daughter." "Your daughter's already dead," Mercer said flatly. "Crazed people don't leave loose ends. She was gone the moment you made that first phone call." Moss's face crumpled. "You're lying." "I wish I was." Mercer's voice softened, just slightly. "But if you talk now, if you tell them everything, maybe you can save someone else's kid. Maybe you can do one decent thing before this is over." Moss stared at her. Then he looked at Emily. "If I talk, will you protect me?" "I can't protect anyone," Emily said. "But I'll make sure your story gets heard." Moss nodded slowly. Okay, I'll do it." Mercer grabbed his arm. "Good. Let's go." She led him toward the stairs. Ramos and Park followed, providing cover. Emily turned back to Webb. "Can you move him?" "Not far," Garrett said, "and not fast." "Then we go up. Roof. Torres can extract us." They started moving Webb inch by inch back toward the stairwell. Okonkwo took point, Felix carried the medical equipment. Emily kept one hand on the chest tube, monitoring the drainage. Below, voices echoed, sharp, commanding. "This is the police. Come out with your hands up." Mercer's voice calm and clear. "I'm unarmed. I have a hostage. I'm bringing him down." Footsteps, movement, then silence. Emily reached the roof access door. She eased it open, scanned the rooftop. The helicopter was still there, rotors idling. Torres sat in the cockpit, eyes scanning the perimeter. "Get him in," Torres said. "We're leaving." They loaded Webb into the helicopter. Emily climbed in beside him, reconnected the chest tube to a portable drainage bag. His vitals were holding, but barely. "Where's Mercer?" Torres asked. "Buying us time." "She's not coming back, is she?" Emily didn't answer. Torres lifted off. The clinic roof fell away, replaced by the sprawling cityscape. Ahead, the horizon was dark, empty. "Where to now?" Torres asked. Emily pulled out the black case Mercer had given her. Inside were files, flash drives, handwritten notes, and at the bottom, a phone number. "We go to the journalist," she said. "We tell the story, all of it." Garrett stared at her. "You think anyone will believe us?" "They will when we show them the proof." Felix leaned forward. "Hayes, there's something you need to see." He turned his laptop around. The screen showed a news feed, live coverage from the clinic, police everywhere. And in the center, Mercer and Moss, both on their knees, hands behind their heads. Cray stood over them, smiling. "We have apprehended 2 of the fugitives," he announced. "The others are still at large, but we will find them, and they will face justice." The camera zoomed in on Mercer. Her face was blank, emotionless. But as the officers moved to cuff her, she looked up, directly at the camera, and mouthed 2 words. "Finish it." The feed cut to commercial. Emily's hands clenched. Mercer was gone, captured, and Cray had her, which meant he'd do everything to make sure she never talked. "We need to move fast," Emily said, "before he buries her too." Torres adjusted course, heading west into empty sky. The city lights faded behind them, replaced by darkness. Emily pulled out the phone, dialed the number Mercer had given her. It rang. Once, twice. A voice answered. Female, guarded. "Who is this?" "My name is Emily Hayes. Colonel Mercer gave me this number. She said you could help." Silence. "Are you the journalist?" Emily pressed. "Depends." "Are you the fugitive?" "I'm the one with the story." Another pause. Then, "Where are you?" "In the air, heading west." "Can you get to Denver?" "Why Denver?" "Because that's where I am. And if you're serious about exposing this, you need to meet me face to face." Emily looked at Torres. He shrugged. "I can get us there. But fuel's running low. We'll need to refuel somewhere along the way." "Do it," Emily said. Then, into the phone. "We'll be there in 4 hours." "Good. I'll send you an address. Come alone. If I see police, federal agents, or anyone who looks remotely official, I'm gone." "Understood." The line went dead. Felix looked up from his laptop. "Hayes, we have another problem." "Of course we do." "The files Mercer gave you, they're encrypted, military grade. I can crack it, but it'll take time." "How much time?" 6 hours, maybe 8? "We don't have 8 hours." "Then we don't get the files." Emily stared at the black case. Everything Mercer had gathered, everything that could take down Cray, and whoever was pulling his strings, locked behind a code they couldn't break. "What about Moss?" Garrett asked. "He knows the players, the money trails. Can't we use him?" "Moss is in custody," Okonkwo said. "And even if he talks, Cray will spin it. Make him look like a liar, a coward. Without hard evidence, his testimony's worthless." Emily's mind churned. They needed the files, needed proof that couldn't be dismissed or buried, but the encryption was too strong, the time too short. Unless... "Felix," she said, "who encrypted these files?" "Probably Mercer herself or someone in her network." "Can you contact them?" "If they're still alive and if they're willing to help fugitives." "Try." Felix started typing, fingers flying. Minutes passed. Then his screen blinked. Got a response. Someone calling themselves Cypher. They're willing to decrypt the files, but they want something in exchange. "What?" "Immunity, protection, a guarantee they won't end up dead or in a black site." Emily laughed bitterly. "I can't even guarantee that for myself." "Then we're stuck." "No." Emily stood, moved to the cockpit. "Torres, change of plans. We're not going to Denver." "Where then?" "Langley, Virginia." Everyone stared at her. "You want to fly into CIA headquarters?" Garrett said. "Are you insane?" "Not CIA. There's a safe house outside Langley. Off the books. Mercer mentioned it once, said it was the only place in the country where Black Ops personnel could disappear if things went south." "And you think it's still operational?" I think it's our only shot. Torres shook his head. Hayes, even if this place exists, we're on every watch list in the country. The second we enter Virginia airspace, we're done. Then we don't enter airspace. We land outside, go in on foot. With a critically wounded soldier, a hunted fugitive, and zero backup? You have a better idea? Torres didn't. He banked east toward Virginia. The helicopter flew through the night, eating miles, burning fuel. Emily sat beside Webb, monitoring his vitals, adjusting the chest tube. His pulse was weak but steady. He was hanging on, barely. Felix worked on his laptop, trying to reach Cypher, trying to decrypt the files. Garrett cleaned his rifle, checked his ammunition. Okonkwo and Park took turns sleeping, conserving energy. Emily stared out the window, watching the landscape blur past. Somewhere below, Mercer was in a cell. Moss was being interrogated, and Cray was spinning his story to the world. And somewhere in the shadows, the people who'd orchestrated Kandahar were watching, waiting, planning their next move. Emily touched the black case. Inside were the answers, the names, the proof. She just had to stay alive long enough to use it. Torres's voice crackled through the headset. We're crossing into Virginia, 30 minutes to the safe house. Any pursuit? Not yet, but they know we're coming. How? Because I would. Torres glanced back at her. Hayes, if this goes bad, if they're waiting for us, what's the play? Emily met his eyes. We fight. Against how many? As many as it takes. Torres nodded slowly. You know, when you called me, I thought you just needed a ride. I didn't sign up for a war. You can still walk away. No, Torres said quietly. I really can't. The safe house appeared on the horizon, a nondescript farmhouse surrounded by fields, no lights, no movement. Torres brought the helicopter down in a clearing half a mile out, killed the engine. Silence. Emily grabbed her rifle, climbed out. The others followed, weapons ready, eyes scanning. The farmhouse was dark, too dark. It's abandoned, Garrett said. Or they want us to think it is. Emily motioned to Ramos and Park. Circle around. Check the perimeter. They moved out, shadows in the night. Emily approached the front door, locked. She tested the handle, then kicked it in. The interior was sparse. Dusty furniture, cobwebs. No sign of recent activity. Then she saw it, a trap door in the kitchen floor hidden beneath a rug. Emily pulled the rug aside, lifted the door. Stairs descended into darkness. Felix, give me a light. He handed her a flashlight. She descended, rifle raised, every sense alert. The basement was small, concrete walls, a single table in the center, and on the table, a laptop. Emily approached slowly. The screen was on, displaying a single line of text. Welcome, Sergeant Hayes. We've been expecting you. Her blood went cold. Behind her, footsteps echoed. She spun, rifle up. A figure stepped out of the shadows. Mid-40s, sharp suit, calm expression. Lower your weapon, the man said. I'm not here to hurt you. Who are you? Someone who wants the same thing you do, justice. Emily didn't lower the rifle. That's not an answer. My name is David Brennan. I work for a division of the government that doesn't officially exist. We clean up the messes no one else can touch. He gestured to the laptop. And right now, you're the biggest mess we have. So you're here to kill me. If I wanted you dead, you'd already be bleeding. Brennan sat down at the table, calm as glass. I'm here to offer you a deal. I'm listening. You give me the files Mercer collected. I decrypt them, analyze them, and take down everyone involved in Kandahar. Cray, his superiors, the whole network, and in exchange, you walk away. New identity, clean record. You disappear, and no one ever finds you. Emily stared at him. Why? Because you're a soldier who got caught in a war that was never yours to fight. And because if you keep pushing this, you'll end up dead. I'm trying to save your life. By burying the truth, by controlling it. Brennan leaned forward. You think going public will change anything? It won't. People like Cray have contingencies, lawyers, political connections. They'll spin this, bury you, and keep operating. But if you let me handle it quietly, I can make sure they actually face consequences. And I'm supposed to trust you? No, you're supposed to be smart. Brennan stood. You have 5 minutes to decide. After that, my offer expires, and you're on your own. Emily looked at the laptop. at the files, at the choice. Then she heard it, the sound of helicopter rotors. Multiple. Close. Brennan's expression didn't change. 4 minutes. Emily ran up the stairs, burst into the kitchen. Outside, searchlights swept across the fields. 3 helicopters, circling, descending, and on the ground, figures moving. Dozens of them. Crazed people. Garrett appeared beside her. We're surrounded. Emily's mind raced. They were outnumbered, outgunned, trapped, and Brennan was downstairs waiting for her answer. She looked at the black case, at the proof, at everything Mercer had died trying to protect. Then she looked at Webb, still unconscious, still bleeding, and she made her choice. She grabbed the case, ran back downstairs, and slammed it onto the table in front of Brennan. Deal, she said, but I have one condition. Brennan raised an eyebrow. Which is? My people walk, all of them. No arrests, no charges. They disappear, and you make sure no one ever finds them. Done. And Mercer. You get her out. Brennan hesitated. That's the deal. Take it or leave it. Brennan stared at her, then he nodded. I'll make the call. He pulled out a phone, spoke quietly. Emily couldn't hear the words, but she saw his expression shift. He hung up. It's done, he said. Your people are clear. Mercer will be extracted within the hour. Emily didn't believe him, but she didn't have a choice. She handed over the case. Brennan opened it, pulled out the files, started scanning. His expression remained neutral, but his hands moved faster, more urgently. Then he stopped. This isn't everything, he said quietly. What? Mercer's files. They're incomplete. She was holding something back. Emily's stomach dropped. What do you mean? I mean, there's a second set of files, somewhere else. And without them, this, he gestured to the case, is useless. Outside, the helicopters landed. Boots hit the ground. Voices shouted commands. Emily grabbed Brennan by the collar. Where are the other files? I don't know, but Mercer did, and now she's in Cray's custody. Brennan met her eyes. Which means if you want to finish this, you're going to have to get her back. The basement door exploded inward. Smoke filled the air, and through it, stepping into the light, was Cray. He smiled when he saw Emily. Sergeant Hayes, he said softly. End of the line. Emily's hand moved to her sidearm, but Cray was faster. His weapon was already leveled at her chest, his team fanning out behind him, red laser dots painting the walls. Don't, Cray said quietly. You've made enough mistakes tonight. Brennan stood slowly, hands visible, calm as ever. Agent Cray? This is a restricted site. You're out of jurisdiction. Jurisdiction ended the moment she became a domestic terrorist. Cray's eyes never left Emily. Drop the weapon, Sergeant. Last chance. Emily's finger hovered over the trigger. She could take Cray. Maybe 2 of his men before they cut her down. But Garrett was upstairs with Webb, and the others were scattered, exposed. If she pulled that trigger, everyone died. She let the pistol clatter to the floor. Cray smiled. Smart. Now the rifle. Emily unslung it, set it down. Kick them over. She did. Cray stepped forward, boots crunching on concrete. You know what's funny? I actually respected you. Read your file after Kandahar. Impressive record. 32 missions. 0 casualties under your watch. You were good at keeping people alive. Until you started killing them, Emily said. I didn't kill anyone. I cleaned up a mess. There's a difference. Cray gestured to his team. Secure the premises. Anyone still breathing gets zip-tied and tagged. The soldiers moved upstairs. Emily heard boots, shouts, the sound of her people being rounded up. Brennan cleared his throat. Agent Cray, I believe we can reach an understanding here. If you'd allow me to... You're under arrest too, Cray said without looking at him. Aiding and abetting fugitives. Obstruction. Pick your charge. I'm a federal contractor with nothing. Cray finally turned to him. Your clearance was revoked 6 hours ago. You're a civilian now, which means you're just another accomplice. Brennan's face went pale. Cray pulled out a phone, made a call. It's done. I have Hayes. The others are in custody. We're ready for extraction. A pause. Understood. No witnesses. He hung up. Emily's blood went cold. You're going to kill us. Of course not. That would be illegal. Cray holstered his weapon. You're going to die resisting arrest. All of you. Very tragic, but necessary. People know we're here. No one who matters. Cray crouched in front of her, close enough that she could smell his cologne. You think you're the hero, Hayes? You're not. You're a loose end, and loose ends don't get happy endings. They get cut. Footsteps echoed from upstairs. One of Cray's soldiers appeared in the doorway. Sir, we have a problem. Cray stood. What kind of problem? The wounded one, Webb. He's coding. Do we... Let him die. Sir, he's still a serviceman. Regulations state... I don't care what regulations state. Cray's voice was sharp now. He's a traitor. Let him die. The soldier hesitated, then nodded and disappeared. Emily lunged. She didn't think, didn't calculate. She just moved. Her shoulder slammed into Cray's chest, driving him backward into the wall. His head cracked against concrete. She went for his sidearm, fingers closing around the grip. Then pain exploded in her ribs. A baton. One of Cray's men swinging hard. Emily dropped, gasping, vision blurring. Cray kicked her in the stomach, once, twice. She curled into herself, tasting blood. Stupid, Cray muttered. He grabbed her hair, yanked her head back. You could have made this easy. Now I'm going to enjoy watching you bleed out. He raised his pistol. Then the lights went out. The basement plunged into darkness. Shouts, confusion. Emily rolled, grabbed her rifle from the floor, and fired blind. Muzzle flash lit the room in strobing bursts. She saw Cray diving for cover, his men scattering. Someone grabbed her arm. Brennan, move, he hissed. They ran up the stairs into the kitchen. Chaos everywhere. Garrett was pinned behind the counter, firing at soldiers near the doorway. Okonkwo and Park were dragging Webb toward the back exit. Ramos was on the floor, blood spreading from his leg. Felix stood in the corner, laptop open, fingers flying. I cut the power, but backup generator kicks in 20 seconds. Then we have 20 seconds, Emily said. She grabbed a flashbang from a downed soldier's belt, pulled the pin, and hurled it into the living room. The explosion was deafening. White light, smoke, screams. Emily moved through it, weapon up, firing controlled bursts. 2 soldiers dropped. A third tried to flank her, but Garrett put him down with a headshot. Out the back, Emily shouted. Now! They poured through the rear door into the night. The field stretched out dark and empty. No cover, no concealment, just open ground and the distant tree line. Behind them, the generator kicked in. Lights flooded the farmhouse, and through the doorway came Cray, blood streaming from his temple, murder in his eyes. Kill them all! He roared. Gunfire erupted, bullets tore through the air, kicking up dirt. Emily sprinted, legs burning, lungs screaming. Ahead, Okonkwo and Park were struggling with Webb's stretcher. Ramos limped beside them, trying to keep up despite his wound. A bullet caught Park in the shoulder. He stumbled but didn't fall. Okonkwo grabbed him, kept him moving. They reached the tree line. Emily dropped to one knee, provided covering fire. Garrett joined her, reloading, firing, reloading again. We can't hold this, he shouted. We don't have to, just buy time. For what? The answer came in the form of rotors, distant but growing louder. A helicopter rising over the far ridge, fast and low. Torres. He'd circled back. The helicopter dropped into the field, side door open, Torres leaning out with a rifle. He fired, suppressing Cray's advance team. Get in! Now! They ran. Emily grabbed Ramos, half-carried him to the helicopter. Garrett shoved Felix inside. Okonkwo and Park loaded Webb, then climbed in themselves. Emily was last. She turned, saw Cray sprinting across the field, closing the distance, weapon raised. She fired. The shot went wide. Cray fired back. The bullet punched through her left shoulder, spinning her around. She hit the ground hard, gasping. Garrett jumped out, grabbed her, dragged her toward the helicopter. Come on! Emily's vision swam. Her shoulder was on fire, blood hot and slick, but she forced herself up, stumbled forward, fell into the helicopter. Torres didn't wait. He lifted off, banking hard, the field dropping away beneath them. Cray stood alone in the middle of the clearing, watching them go. He raised his weapon, fired a final shot that pinged off the helicopter skid. Then he lowered the gun, pulled out his phone, and made another call. Emily collapsed against the wall, breathing hard. Garrett pressed gauze against her shoulder, trying to stop the bleeding. You're hit bad, he said. I've had worse. That's not reassuring. Emily looked at Webb. He was gray, barely breathing, the chest tube still draining dark blood. Park was slumped against the opposite wall, clutching his wounded shoulder. Ramos sat with his leg elevated, face tight with pain. They were falling apart. "Torres!" Emily called. "Where are we going?" "I don't know," Torres shouted back. "You're the one with the plan." "I don't have a plan anymore." "Then we're screwed." Felix leaned forward, laptop balanced on his knees. "Hayes, I managed to pull something before the power cut. Brennan was lying. The files Mercer gave you aren't incomplete. They're just locked behind a second encryption key." "Where's the key?" "I don't know, but Mercer would have hidden it somewhere safe, somewhere only she could access." Emily's mind raced. Mercer was in custody. If she had a second encryption key, she would have stored it somewhere secure. Somewhere Cray couldn't find it. "Where did they take her?" Emily asked. Felix typed rapidly. "Let me check." "Got it. Federal Detention Center, Alexandria, Virginia, maximum security. She's in interrogation cell 3. "How long until Cray gets what he wants from her?" "Depends on what he's willing to do. Officially, he can't touch her. She's a former colonel with connections. But unofficially," Felix trailed off. "He'll make her disappear," Okonkwo finished. "Just like he tried to do with us." Emily looked at the others. They were wounded, exhausted, running on fumes. Going after Mercer meant walking into a federal facility crawling with agents and soldiers. It was suicide, but it was also the only way to finish this. "Torres," Emily said, "get us to Alexandria." "Are you insane? That's a federal detention center. We'd never get within a mile." "Then get us within 2 miles. We'll figure out the rest." Torres swore but adjusted course. The helicopter flew east, chasing the dawn. Emily sat with her back against the wall, pressing gauze against her shoulder. The bleeding had slowed but not stopped. She could feel her pulse throbbing in the wound, each beat sending fresh waves of pain. Brennan had disappeared in the chaos. Probably arrested, probably already talking, but Emily didn't care about him anymore. He was just another player in a game she didn't understand. What she cared about was Mercer. The woman who'd used her, lied to her, but also given her the one thing she needed to take down Cray. The truth. They landed in a construction site on the outskirts of Alexandria, hidden behind half-finished buildings and equipment. Torres killed the engine and the sudden silence was jarring. "This is as close as I get," Torres said. "After this, I'm gone. I've got a family, kids. I can't—" "Go," Emily said. "You've done enough." Torres hesitated, then he nodded and took off. Emily watched the helicopter disappear into the gray morning sky. Then she turned to the others. "Webb and Ramos stay here. They're too injured to move. Park, you're with them. Keep pressure on that shoulder and stay out of sight." Park nodded, his face pale but determined. "Okonkwo, Garrett, Felix, you're with me. We hit the detention center, extract Mercer, and get out before Cray realizes what's happening." "And if he's already there?" Garrett asked. "Then we go through him." Felix pulled up a map on his laptop. "The detention center has 3 entry points: main gate, service entrance, and an underground parking structure. Security's tight, biometric scanners, armed guards, surveillance everywhere." "What about blind spots?" "There's a delivery window between 6 and 7 a.m. Reduced personnel, shift change. If we move fast, we might be able to slip through the service entrance." Emily checked her watch. 6:15. "We have 45 minutes. Let's move." They grabbed what weapons they could carry and started walking. The streets were empty, just a few early commuters and delivery trucks. Emily kept her injured arm pressed against her side, trying to look normal, trying not to attract attention. The detention center loomed ahead, a gray concrete fortress, razor wire on the walls, guard towers at each corner. It looked impenetrable. They approached from the south, staying low, using parked vehicles as cover. Felix hacked into the security network using a hijacked maintenance tablet, giving them a live feed of the interior. Mercer's still in interrogation cell 3, but she's not alone. 2 agents with her, and Cray just entered the building 10 minutes ago. Emily's jaw tightened. "Where is he now?" "Heading to her cell." "Then we need to move faster." They reached the service entrance. A single guard stood outside, smoking a cigarette, bored. Emily approached from behind, moving silent, and put him in a chokehold. He struggled briefly, then went limp. She lowered him to the ground, took his key card, and swiped it. The door clicked open. Inside was a narrow corridor, fluorescent lights, the smell of disinfectant. Felix consulted his tablet. Take the stairs. 2 levels down, then hang a left. They descended quickly, weapons ready. The corridor was empty, eerily quiet, too quiet. They reached the interrogation wing. Through a reinforced window, Emily saw Mercer sitting at a metal table, hands cuffed, face bruised. Cray stood across from her, talking, his expression calm. Emily couldn't hear the words, but she didn't need to. She could see Mercer's face, the defiance there, the refusal. Cray slammed his hand on the table. Mercer didn't flinch. "We need to get her out," Garrett whispered. "There are 2 agents inside," Okonkwo said. "Armed. The second we breach, they'll call for backup." "Then we don't give them time to call." Emily moved to the door, checked the lock. Keycard access. She swiped the stolen card. Red light. Denied. Felix leaned over, plugged his tablet into a wall port, started typing. "Give me 30 seconds." They didn't have 30 seconds. Inside the room, Cray pulled out a pistol, pressed it against Mercer's temple. Emily's heart stopped. 20 seconds, Felix muttered. Cray was talking, his mouth moving, his finger on the trigger. 10 seconds. Mercer closed her eyes. The lock clicked green. Emily slammed through the door, rifle up. "Drop it!" Cray spun, weapon tracking toward her. Emily fired first. The shot caught him in the shoulder, spinning him around. His gun clattered to the floor. The 2 agents lunged for their weapons. Okonkwo put one down with a shot to the leg. Garrett tackled the other, slamming him into the wall. Emily crossed the room, grabbed Mercer's cuffs, and broke them with a hard twist. "Can you walk?" "Better than you, apparently." Mercer stood, rubbing her wrists. "You're bleeding." "I'll live, come on." They moved into the corridor. Alarms blared. Red lights flashed. Somewhere above, boots hammered on metal. "They know we're here," Felix said. "Every exit's going to be locked down." "Then we find another way out." Mercer grabbed Emily's arm. "There's an old maintenance tunnel, runs under the building to the street. It's how they used to move prisoners before they built the new wing. Lead the way." They ran. Down another flight of stairs, through a door marked Authorized Personnel Only, into a narrow tunnel lined with pipes and electrical conduits. The air was damp, thick with the smell of mold. Behind them, voices echoed. Pursuit. Emily turned, fired a burst down the corridor. The shot sparked off metal, forcing the pursuers back. "Go! I'll cover!" They sprinted through the tunnel. It seemed endless, twisting, branching. Finally, they reached a ladder leading up to a manhole cover. Okonkwo climbed first, shoved the cover aside. Daylight poured in. He pulled himself through, then reached down to help the others. Emily was last. She grabbed the ladder, started climbing, and felt hands close around her ankle. She looked down. Cray. Blood soaking his shoulder, face twisted with rage. "You're not getting away," he snarled. Emily kicked. Her boot caught him in the face. He fell, hitting the tunnel floor hard. She climbed out into the street, and Garrett slammed the manhole cover shut. They were in an alley. Early morning traffic hummed nearby. Sirens wailed in the distance. "We need a vehicle," Garrett said. "There." Mercer pointed to a delivery van parked at the curb, engine running, driver inside sipping coffee. They moved fast. Okonkwo yanked the driver out, apologized briefly, and climbed behind the wheel. The others piled in the back. Okonkwo hit the gas, and the van lurched forward into traffic. Emily slumped against the wall, breathing hard. Her shoulder throbbed, her vision swam. But they had Mercer. They were alive. For now. Mercer sat across from her, studying her face. "You came back for me." "You would have done the same." "No, I wouldn't have." Mercer's voice was flat. "I would have prioritized the mission, let you rot." "Good thing I'm not you." Mercer smiled faintly. "Good thing." Felix leaned forward. "Colonel, the encryption key, where is it?" "In my head." "What?" "It's a passphrase, 64 characters. Random. I memorized it." Mercer pulled Felix's laptop toward her, started typing. "I'll decrypt the files now, but we need somewhere secure, somewhere Cray can't find us." "I know a place," Garrett said. "An old friend. Owes me a favor. Lives outside the city." "Will he take all of us?" "If I ask nicely." They drove. The city gave way to suburbs, then farmland. An hour later, they pulled up to a small house surrounded by trees. Garrett knocked on the door. A man answered, mid-50s, graying hair, cautious eyes. He looked at Garrett, then at the blood-soaked group behind him. "You've got to be kidding me," the man said. "I need that favor, Mike." Mike sighed. "You're going to get me killed." "Probably." Mike stepped aside. "Come in. But you owe me. Big time." They filed inside. Mike cleared a table and Mercer set up the laptop. Her fingers moved fast, entering the passphrase, bypassing security layers. The files began to decrypt. Emily watched the screen. Names appeared. Dates. Bank transactions. Communications. Everything Mercer had gathered. Everything that tied Kandahar to a conspiracy that reached the highest levels of government. And at the center of it all, one name. Senator Richard Caldwell, chairman of the Senate Intelligence Committee. The man who'd authorized the Kandahar mission, the man who'd buried the evidence, the man who'd ordered the kill list. "He's the traitor," Emily breathed. "Not just a traitor," Mercer said. "He was Halani's contact. He was selling intelligence to enemies, lining his pockets, and when Kandahar threatened to expose him, he ordered your team silenced." Emily stared at the screen. All this time, she'd thought it was some shadowy operative, some faceless bureaucrat, but it was a senator, a man with power, influence, protection. "How do we take him down?" Garrett asked. "We can't," Mercer said. "Not directly. He's too connected. If we go public, he'll bury us before anyone believes a word." "Then what do we do?" Mercer pulled up another file. A recording, audio only. She hit play. A voice filled the room, cold, authoritative. "Senator Caldwell. The Kandahar survivors are a liability. Eliminate them. All of them. Use Cray. Make it look like terrorism. And make sure there's no evidence linking back to me." Silence. "That's our weapon," Mercer said. "That recording. We leak it. Every news outlet. Every journalist. Every social media platform. We flood the zone. Make it impossible for him to suppress." "And then?" Emily asked. "Then we let the public tear him apart." Felix started copying the files, uploading them to multiple servers, encrypting them with keys only he knew. "This is going to take an hour, maybe 2. "We don't have 2 hours, Okonkwo said. "Cray knows we're out. He's hunting us right now." "Then we make sure he finds us," Emily said. "But on our terms." She pulled out her phone, dialed a number. It rang 3 times. Cray answered. "Hayes, still breathing?" "For now. I want to make a deal." "I don't make deals with traitors." "You will with me, because I have something you need." "Which is?" "The files, everything Mercer collected, every piece of evidence that ties you to Caldwell, to Kandahar, to the kill list. I'll give it to you. In exchange, you let my people go." Cray laughed. "You think I believe you'd just hand them over?" "I don't care what you believe. Meet me at the Riverside Industrial Park. 1 hour. Come alone, or I burn everything and disappear." She hung up. Garrett stared at her. "You're not seriously going to meet him." "I am." "It's a trap." "Of course it's a trap, but it's my trap." Emily turned to Felix. "How long until those files are uploaded?" 40 minutes. "Good. That gives me 20 minutes to set the stage." She looked at Mercer. "I need your help. One last time." Mercer met her eyes. "What do you need?" "A way to make sure Cray confesses. On record. Something we can use to bury him and Caldwell together." Mercer smiled. It was a sharp, dangerous expression. "I have just the thing." 45 minutes later, Emily stood alone in the middle of an abandoned warehouse at Riverside Industrial Park. The place was a ruin. Rusted equipment, broken windows, weeds growing through cracked concrete. She held a small black drive in her hand. The bait. Cray arrived exactly on time. He walked through the entrance alone, weapon holstered, calm as ever. But Emily saw the tension in his shoulders, the way his eyes scanned for threats. "You came," she said. "I'm curious. Why the sudden cooperation?" "I'm tired. Tired of running. Tired of fighting. You win. I just want it to be over." Cray stopped 10 feet away. "And your friends?" "Gone. Scattered. They don't want any part of this anymore." "Smart." Cray held out his hand. "The drive." Emily hesitated. "How do I know you'll keep your word?" "You don't. But what choice do you have?" She tossed the drive to him. He caught it, examined it briefly, then pocketed it. Was that so hard? He asked. There's one thing I don't understand, Emily said. Why Caldwell? What did Halani have on him that was worth killing an entire unit? Cray smiled. You really want to know? I'm about to disappear forever. Humor me. Caldwell was selling classified intelligence to foreign buyers. Halani was the middleman. When your team went to Kandahar, you got too close, so Caldwell ordered the ambush, and when some of you survived, he ordered the kill list. Cray stepped closer. The funny part? He wasn't even paying me that much. I just enjoyed the work. Emily's blood boiled. You killed 4 soldiers for a paycheck. I killed 4 liabilities. There's a difference. And Mercer? Moss? All the people caught in the crossfire? Collateral damage. Cray pulled his weapon. Just like you. Emily didn't move. You're going to kill me anyway. Of course, but I'll make it quick. Professional courtesy. He raised the gun. The warehouse doors exploded inward. Federal agents poured in, weapons drawn, voices shouting. FBI, drop your weapon! Cray spun, confused. What the? Every word you just said was recorded, Emily said quietly, and transmitted live to the FBI, the DOJ, and about 50 news outlets. Cray's face went white. Emily pulled a small transmitter from her pocket. Mercer's gift, military grade. You never stood a chance. The agents surrounded Cray. He looked at Emily, his expression shifting from shock to fury to something almost like respect. You played me, he said. I learned from the best. They dragged him away, still shouting, still denying. But it didn't matter. The recording was everywhere now. The confession, the names, the proof. Senator Caldwell was arrested within the hour. His office was raided, his accounts frozen. By sunset, the story had broken nationwide. By midnight, he'd resigned. Emily walked out of the warehouse as the sun dipped below the horizon. Garrett waited outside with the van. Mercer sat in the passenger seat, watching the news on her phone. It's done, Mercer said. Caldwell's finished. Cray's going to spend the rest of his life in prison. The Kandahar survivors are cleared. What about us? Garrett asked. Brennan came through. All charges dropped. You're free. Emily leaned against the van, exhausted. Her shoulder ached. Her body screamed for rest. But for the first time in 3 years, she felt something close to peace. What will you do now? Mercer asked. Emily thought about it, about Silverline, about being a nurse, being invisible, being someone who just saved lives and asked no questions. I'm going back, she said. Mercer raised an eyebrow. To the hospital? Yeah, someone has to patch up the idiots who get themselves shot. Mercer laughed. It was the first real laugh Emily had ever heard from her. They drove away as the last light faded. Behind them, the warehouse stood empty, a monument to a fight that had finally ended. But as they reached the highway, Emily's phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. Nice work, Sergeant, but you missed one. Emily's blood went cold. She opened the message. A photo appeared. Webb, unconscious in a hospital bed. And standing beside him, smiling at the camera, was someone Emily didn't recognize. A woman. Mid-30s, cold eyes, military bearing. Below the photo, a single line of text. Kandahar wasn't the only mission you should have asked about. See you soon. The phone went dead. Emily stared at the screen until the image burned into her vision. The woman's face was unfamiliar, but the message was clear. This wasn't over. It had never been over. What is it? Garrett asked, glancing over. Emily closed the phone, her hand trembling. Drive faster. Where? St. Jerome's, Webb's Hospital. Mercer caught the tone in her voice. What's wrong? Someone's with him, someone who shouldn't be. Garrett floored it. The van lurched forward, weaving through traffic. Emily pulled up the photo again, studied the woman's face. Military posture, cold eyes, the kind of expression that came from years of doing things normal people couldn't stomach. Who is she? Mercer asked, leaning over. I don't know. But she knows about Kandahar. And she knows we missed something. Felix grabbed his laptop from the back. Send me the photo. Emily forwarded it. Felix ran it through facial recognition, cross-referenced it against military databases, intelligence agencies, private contractors. Nothing came up. She's a ghost, Felix said. No digital footprint, no records. Whoever she is, She's been erased. Or never existed in the first place, Mercer murmured. They reached St. Jerome's 20 minutes later. Garrett parked in the emergency lot, and they moved fast through the entrance. The lobby was quiet, just a few nurses at the station, visitors scattered in the waiting area. Emily flashed her old Silverline ID, still clipped to her scrub pocket. Webb, Marcus Webb, where is he? The nurse checked her computer. ICU fourth floor, but visiting hours. Emily was already moving. They took the stairs, 2 at a time. The ICU wing was dim, sterile, the kind of quiet that only hospitals had late at night. Emily found Webb's room at the end of the hall. The door was ajar. She pushed it open slowly, weapon drawn. Webb was alone, unconscious, monitors beeping steadily. No sign of the woman. Emily lowered her gun, exhaled. False alarm, paranoia. The stress finally. Then she saw it. A note, pinned to Webb's blanket. She grabbed it, read the handwritten message. You're looking in the wrong place. The mission you should be asking about wasn't Kandahar. It was Peshawar, October 2019. Ring any bells? Check the morgue. Room 3, alone. You have 10 minutes. Emily's stomach dropped. Peshawar. She remembered. A black ops extraction, hostage situation. She'd been the medic on standby, never deployed, told the mission was scrubbed. But rumors had circulated afterward, whispers of a massacre, of something going wrong, of bodies that were never recovered. What does it say? Garrett asked. Emily crumpled the note. Stay with Webb. Don't let anyone near him. Where are you going? To find out what I missed. Mercer grabbed her arm. This is a trap. I know. Then don't go. Emily pulled free. If I don't, they'll keep coming. For Webb. For all of us. This ends tonight. She left before anyone could argue. The morgue was in the basement, accessed through a service elevator. Emily descended alone, her injured shoulder throbbing with every movement. The elevator doors opened to a cold, antiseptic hallway. Signs pointed toward pathology, storage, and the morgue. Room 3 was at the far end. Emily approached slowly, weapon ready. The door was unlocked. She pushed it open. Inside was a single examination table, empty. Stainless steel walls, a drain in the floor, and leaning against the counter, arms crossed, was the woman from the photo. Sergeant Hayes, the woman said. Punctual. I like that. Emily raised her weapon. Who are you? Captain Nora Voss. Or I was, before they burned my records. Voss pushed off the counter, calm, unbothered by the gun. We served together, briefly. You wouldn't remember. You were too busy saving lives to notice the people doing the killing. Emily's finger tightened on the trigger. Peshawar. There it is. Voss smiled. Took you long enough. What happened there? Everything Kandahar should have been. We went in to extract a CIA asset, found out he was selling us out. So we eliminated him and everyone connected to him. 16 people. Men, women, one kid who was in the wrong place. Voss's voice was flat, clinical. Command called it a success. Gave us medals. Then buried the whole thing when the media started asking questions. Emily's blood went cold. You murdered civilians. We followed orders. Voss stepped closer. Just like you did in Kandahar. Just like you would have done in Peshawar if they'd deployed you. The only difference is, I don't pretend I'm something I'm not. What do you want? I want you to stop. Voss gestured to the empty room. You took down Caldwell, Cray, the whole network. Congratulations. But you're opening doors that should stay closed. Peshawar's just one. There are dozens more. Operations you've never heard of. People who did things you can't imagine. And if you keep digging, you're going to expose all of them. Good. Voss's smile faded. You think you're the hero. You're not. You're a liability. And liabilities get eliminated. Emily didn't lower her weapon. You came here to kill me. I came here to give you a choice. Walk away. Disappear. Live your quiet little life as a nurse. Or keep pushing, and I'll make sure you don't see next week. That's not a choice. It's the only one you're getting. Emily fired. The shot went wide. Voss was already moving, faster than anyone had a right to be. She closed the distance in 2 strides, knocked the gun from Emily's hand, and drove a fist into her wounded shoulder. Pain exploded. Emily's vision whited out. She stumbled back and Voss swept her legs. Emily hit the floor hard, ribs screaming. Voss stood over her, drawing a knife. You should have taken the deal. She lunged. Emily rolled, grabbed a scalpel from the counter, and slashed upward. The blade caught Voss across the forearm. Blood sprayed. Voss hissed, stepped back. Emily scrambled to her feet, breathing hard. Her shoulder was on fire, her vision blurring, but she stayed upright. Voss looked at her arm, then at Emily. You're tougher than I thought. I've had practice. They circled each other. Voss moved like a predator, knife low, balanced. Emily held the scalpel awkwardly, trying to keep distance, trying to think through the pain. Voss struck first, fast, controlled, aiming for Emily's throat. Emily blocked with her forearm, felt the blade slice through scrubs, through skin. She twisted, drove the scalpel toward Voss's ribs. Voss caught her wrist, twisted it back. The scalpel clattered to the floor. They grappled, slamming into the examination table. Voss drove her knee into Emily's stomach. Emily gasped, tasted bile. Voss grabbed her hair, slammed her head into the steel table. Once. Twice. Emily's ears rang. Blood ran into her eyes. She was losing. Then she remembered. The drain. The floor. She grabbed Voss's wrist, twisted hard, and used her momentum to spin them around. Voss's foot caught the drain grate. She stumbled, off balance. Emily drove her elbow into Voss's throat. Voss choked, released her grip. Emily grabbed the knife, spun it around, and drove it into Voss's thigh. Voss screamed, fell. Emily stood over her, breathing hard. You made a mistake. What mistake? Voss gasped. You told me about Peshawar. Now I know where to look. She grabbed her phone, started recording. State your name and rank. Voss laughed, blood bubbling at her lips. You think a recording will save you? It'll expose you, and everyone who gave you orders. They'll bury it, just like they buried Peshawar. Not this time. Emily leaned closer. Because I'm not going to let them. Footsteps echoed in the hallway. Garrett burst through the door, weapon raised. He saw Voss on the floor, saw Emily covered in blood, and lowered his gun. Jesus, Hayes. Call the FBI. Tell them we have another confession. Garrett pulled out his phone. Emily kept recording as Voss bled, as she talked, as she named names and operations and atrocities that would keep investigators busy for years. By the time the agents arrived, Voss had passed out from blood loss. They took her into custody, secured the scene, and escorted Emily upstairs for medical treatment. A nurse stitched her shoulder, bandaged the cuts on her arm and scalp. Emily sat still, watching the window, waiting for the next threat to appear. It didn't. Mercer found her an hour later, sitting in the ICU waiting room. Voss is talking. The Bureau has her in protective custody. She's giving them everything. Peshawar? And 6 other operations, all buried, all about to come to light. Mercer sat down beside her. You did it, Hayes. You actually did it. Emily didn't feel victorious. She felt tired, hollowed out, like she'd been running for so long she'd forgotten what it felt like to stop. What happens now? She asked. Trials, investigations, congressional hearings. It's going to be ugly, but it's going to be public. Mercer glanced at her. And you're going to be at the center of it. The whistleblower. The hero. I'm not a hero. You're the closest thing we have. Emily closed her eyes. I just want to go back to work. You can't. Not yet. The hospital's still clearing the damage from the attack. It'll be weeks before they reopen the ER. Then I'll find another hospital. Mercer smiled faintly. You really mean that? You just want to be a nurse? It's what I'm good at. You're good at a lot of things, Sergeant. Don't call me that. Why not? It's what you are, what you've always been. Mercer stood. You can pretend you're just a civilian, just someone who saves lives and goes home. But you and I both know you're more than that. You're a soldier, and soldiers don't quit. Emily looked up at her. I'm not going back to the military. I'm not asking you to. Mercer pulled a card from her pocket, set it on the chair beside Emily. But if you ever want to do more than patch up gunshot wounds and set broken bones, call me. There's work that needs people like you. People who can't be bought, can't be scared, can't be stopped. She walked away. Emily picked up the card. It was blank except for a phone number. She stared at it for a long moment. Then she slipped it into her pocket and stood. Webb was awake when Emily entered his room, pale, weak, but alive. He looked at her and managed a thin smile. Hey, Sarge. Don't call me that either. Emily sat down beside his bed. How are you feeling? Like I got shot in the chest and dragged across 3 states. That's accurate, Webb laughed, then winced. Heard you took down Voss, single-handedly. Barely. Still counts. He reached out, took her hand. Thank you. For everything. For not leaving me behind. I don't leave people behind. I know. That's what makes you different. Webb squeezed her hand. The others, they're good soldiers, but you're something else. You care. Even when you shouldn't. Emily's throat tightened. Get some rest. You've got a long recovery ahead. What about you? I'll figure it out. She left before he could ask more questions. The next 3 weeks passed in a blur. Trials, depositions, media interviews. Emily testified before Congress, told her story, watched as politicians postured and promised reform. Caldwell was convicted on 14 counts, sentenced to life without parole. Cray pleaded guilty to avoid the death penalty and got 40 years. Voss cut a deal, gave up names, and disappeared into witness protection. The Kandahar survivors were officially exonerated. Monuments were proposed, apologies issued. Emily refused all of it. She just wanted to work. Silverline Regional reopened in early November. The ER was rebuilt, the staff rehired. Emily walked through the doors on a cold Monday morning, clipped on her ID badge, and reported for her shift. Dr. Vell was waiting at the nurse's station. He looked older, grayer, but his eyes lit up when he saw her. Hayes, welcome back. Thanks. You know, you could have taken a leadership position. After everything that happened, the board wanted to promote you, make you head of emergency services. Emily shook her head. I'm good where I am. Vell smiled. I figured you'd say that. He handed her a chart. Trauma Bay 2, GSW to the abdomen. Victim stable but needs monitoring. Emily took the chart and walked to the trauma bay. Inside, a young man lay on the gurney, conscious, scared. A police officer stood nearby taking notes. Emily washed her hands, pulled on gloves, and approached. Hey, she said gently. I'm Emily. I'm going to take care of you. The man looked at her, eyes wide. Am I going to die? Not today. She checked his vitals, examined the wound, started an IV. The work was routine, mechanical, but it felt right, felt like home. Hours passed. Patients came and went. A kid with a broken arm, an overdose, a cardiac arrest that Emily and Vell managed to resuscitate. By the end of her shift, Emily's feet ached, her shoulder throbbed, and she was exhausted, but she felt alive. She was clocking out when Garrett appeared in the hallway. He looked different, cleaner, less haunted. He'd shaved, cut his hair, traded his tactical gear for civilian clothes. Hey, he said. Hey, Emily smiled. What are you doing here? I got a job, security consultant. The hospital hired me to overhaul their protocols after the attack. He rubbed the back of his neck. Figured it was better than going back to the teams. Good choice. Yeah, Garrett hesitated. Listen, I wanted to say thank you for everything. You saved my life multiple times. You saved mine too. I know, but you did it first. He pulled an envelope from his pocket. The guys, Webb, Okonkwo, Ramos, Park, we got together. Put this together for you. Emily opened the envelope. Inside was a photo. All of them standing in front of the hospital, smiling, and beneath it, a handwritten note. To the best combat medic we ever served with, thanks for keeping us alive. Your team. Emily's eyes stung. She blinked hard, folded the note carefully, and slipped it into her pocket. Tell them I said thanks, she managed. Tell them yourself. We're having a get-together next month. Nothing fancy, just drinks and stories. You should come. I'll think about it. Garrett nodded. Take care of yourself, Hayes. You too. He left. Emily stood in the empty hallway, listening to the hum of the hospital around her. Somewhere, a monitor beeped. A child cried. A doctor called for a consult. The sounds of life continuing, of people fighting and surviving and healing. She pulled out Mercer's card, looked at the phone number, then she put it back in her pocket. Not today. Maybe not ever. Because the truth was, she didn't need to be a soldier anymore. She didn't need to fight wars or take down conspiracies or expose secrets. She'd done that. Proven she could. and it had cost her everything. What she needed now was simpler, smaller, but no less important. She needed to save lives, one patient at a time, one shift at a time. That was her mission now. Emily walked out of the hospital into the cold November air. The parking lot was quiet, the city lights glowing in the distance. She climbed into her car, started the engine, and sat for a moment, hands on the wheel. Her phone buzzed, a text from an unknown number. She opened it cautiously. Saw the news. Proud of you. Stay safe. Torres. Emily smiled. She typed back, "You too." Then she drove home. Then her apartment was small, bare, nothing like a home. But it was hers. She showered, changed into clean clothes, made tea she didn't drink. Then she sat on the couch and stared at the wall. For 3 years, she'd been running, hiding, trying to forget who she'd been and what she'd done. And when the past finally caught up, she'd fought it with everything she had. But now in the quiet, she realized something. She wasn't running anymore. She wasn't hiding. She was just living. And maybe that was enough. The next morning, Emily returned to Silverline. The ER was busy, a car accident, a heart attack, a kid who'd swallowed a battery. Emily moved through it all with calm efficiency, her hands steady, her mind clear. Around noon, a new patient arrived. Young woman, early 20s, gunshot wound to the shoulder, conscious but in shock. Emily took the case. She cleaned the wound, started an IV, prepped for surgery. The woman grabbed her wrist, eyes wide. "Am I going to be okay?" Emily met her gaze. "You're going to be fine. I've got you." "Promise?" "Promise." The woman relaxed. Emily worked quickly, efficiently, the way she'd been trained. The bullet had missed the major vessels, lodged in muscle. She extracted it, sutured the wound, bandaged it tight. By the time she was done, the woman was stable, resting, safe. Dr. Vell appeared in the doorway. "Nice work, Hayes." "Just doing my job." "That's more than most people can say." Vell crossed his arms. "You know, when you first started here, I thought you were too quiet, too withdrawn. I didn't think you had what it took to handle this place." Emily looked up at him. "And now?" "Now I know I was wrong. You're one of the best we have. Maybe the best." He paused. "The board wants to give you a commendation for what happened during the attack, for saving lives when everyone else was panicking." "I don't need a commendation." "I know, but you're getting one anyway. Public ceremony next month. You'll have to dress up." Emily groaned. "Do I have to give a speech?" "Probably." "I hate speeches." Vell laughed. "You'll survive." He left. Emily cleaned up, disposed of the gloves, washed her hands. Then she stepped out into the hallway and saw something that made her stop. A family. Mother, father, 2 kids. They were standing outside the trauma bay, waiting. The mother was crying. The father had his arm around her. Emily recognized them. The young woman she'd just treated was their daughter. The father saw Emily and approached. "Are you the nurse who saved her?" "I'm one of them." "Thank you." His voice broke. "Thank you so much." Emily nodded. "She's going to be okay. You can see her in a few minutes." The mother grabbed Emily's hand, squeezed it tight. "You're a miracle worker." Emily pulled her hand back gently. "I'm just a nurse." But as she walked away, she felt something she hadn't felt in a long time. Pride. Not the kind that came from medals or commendations or recognition. The kind that came from knowing she'd made a difference. That she'd taken someone broken and made them whole. That she'd fought death and won. That was what mattered. Not the wars she'd fought. Not the conspiracies she'd exposed. Not the enemies she'd defeated. This. One life saved. One family whole. One moment where the darkness didn't win. Emily finished her shift, clocked out, and walked to her car. The sun was setting, painting the sky in shades of orange and gold. She leaned against the hood, breathed in the cool air, and let herself feel it. The exhaustion, the pain, the quiet satisfaction of a job well done. She was still standing, still fighting, still here, and that was victory enough. A voice called out from across the parking lot. "Hayes, Emily turned. Mercer was walking toward her, dressed in civilian clothes, no longer the hardened colonel, but something softer, more human. "Didn't expect to see you here," Emily said. "I was in the area, thought I'd check in." Mercer stopped a few feet away, hands in her pockets. Heard about the commendation. Congratulations. It's just politics. It's recognition. You deserve it. Emily shrugged. What about you? What's next? I'm done. Officially retired. The Bureau doesn't need me anymore, and honestly, I'm tired. Mercer smiled faintly. Thinking about teaching, maybe writing a book, something boring. Sounds nice. It does, doesn't it? Mercer looked at her. What about you? Still just a nurse? Still just a nurse. And that's enough? Emily thought about it. About the lives she'd saved today, about the family she'd helped, about the work waiting for her tomorrow. Yeah, she said quietly. It is. Mercer nodded. Good. Then I'll leave you to it. She turned to go, then stopped. One more thing. That card I gave you, the number. If you ever change your mind, it's still active. There's always work for people like us. I know. But you won't call. Probably not. Mercer smiled. Good. The world needs more healers and fewer soldiers. She walked away, disappearing into the fading light. Emily stood alone in the parking lot, watching the sun sink below the horizon. Then she got in her car and drove home. The city moved around her, people going to work, coming home, living their lives. Anonymous, unseen, ordinary. And for the first time in years, Emily felt like she belonged. Not as Sergeant Hayes, the combat medic who'd fought wars and survived impossible odds. Not as the whistleblower who'd taken down a conspiracy and exposed the truth, just as Emily. A nurse. A woman who saved lives because it was the right thing to do. She parked outside her building, climbed the stairs to her apartment, and stepped inside. The space was still bare, still temporary. But it was hers. She made tea, actually drank it this time, and sat by the window. Outside, the city glowed, alive and restless. Somewhere out there, people were suffering, bleeding, dying, and tomorrow she'd be there to help them. That was her purpose now. Not grand or heroic. Not the stuff of legends or headlines, just simple, human, real. Emily finished her tea, set the cup down, and closed her eyes. She thought about all the people who'd underestimated her, the SEAL who'd dismissed her, the administrators who'd ignored her, the enemies who'd thought she was weak. They'd all been wrong. Because strength wasn't about being the loudest or the most visible. It wasn't about rank or recognition or medals on a chest. It was about showing up, doing the work, saving lives when no one was watching. And she'd done that. She was still doing that. Emily opened her eyes and looked at her reflection in the dark window. She saw a woman with scars, with tired eyes, with hands that had held too much blood. But she also saw someone who hadn't quit, who hadn't broken, who'd stood up when it mattered and fought for what was right. And that was enough. More than enough. Emily Hayes, the nurse they'd called too quiet, too calm, too green, had become exactly who she needed to be. Not a hero, not a legend, just someone who refused to let the darkness win. And as she sat there watching the city breathe, she knew one thing for certain. She'd do it all again. Not for glory, not for recognition, but because saving lives, one patient, one moment, one breath at a time, was the only victory that mattered. And she was damn good at it.